Hi, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Yeah, don't bet against those Milwaukee Brewers. Not when they're on a roll like they are, as they are tonight and the last couple of days. 5 homers. They take down one of the best pitchers in baseball, and they improve their record to 4-1. We'll talk about it next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Brewers for well over 40 years, been covering them for AP Radio in Milwaukee. I also work for WIBA in Madison. I'm the morning sports anchor. I'm a fan just like you, grew up in the Milwaukee area. It's one of those kids who would go to County Stadium, sit in the kids section out there, get the $1 or $2 tickets back at the old County Stadium, get autographs in the parking lot. Those were the days back in the 70s and in the early 80s. But since then, I've been covering the team, going as a fan, Sunday season ticket holder, and I love this team. Well, like you, we're trying to get this team back to the World Series. But the early returns, it is election night. The early returns are good. So good to have you along. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel/Locked On today and get started with FanDuel. All right. Chuck Freeman here after a 9-0 win. They're 4-1. They're 9-0 winners over the New York Mets tonight. So, you know, the offense has been so good, but the pitching has been great as well for the Brewers. They've shut out the Mets in the first 2 games of the series, but they took it to Max Scherzer. A buddy of mine calls me up before the game, about 90 minutes before the game. He's going to the game. He said, I want to bet on the New York Mets tonight. What do you think of that, Freems? I said, player, you idiot. Why would you bet against the Milwaukee Brewers the way they are red hot right now? And you guys know when the Brewers are hot, stay off the tracks, man. Don't bet against them. Just ride it while you can. And they're on one of those rolls right now. All right. They're on one of those rolls. They are on an upswing. They are riding on a high right now. But player, Scherzer is minus 135 again. The Brewers aren't going to win 4 in a row. I said, you idiot. You better not do that. I'm telling you right now. Sure enough, I texted him. I didn't hear back from him, but the idiot bet against the Brewers tonight. And, he lost. And I wouldn't bet against them tomorrow either, man. The Milwaukee Brewers, they're just offensively, they are just raking right now. And they're raking home runs. But who saw them hitting 5 home runs against Max Scherzer tonight? I thought if they'd win this game, they'd win like 3-2, 2-1, a low-scoring game. I thought they'd win in that fashion. They'd find a way to win. I didn't see them going back to back to back in 1 inning and back to back in another inning to get the job done. Yeah, in 1 inning tonight, Rowdy Tellez, Brian Anderson, Garrett Mitchell go back to back to back. First time the Brewers have done that since 2018. 7th inning, they go back to back again as Brian Anderson and Mitchell this time go back to back. And Brian Anderson off to a great start with the Brewers so far. He had a 2-run double off Scherzer to get the ball rolling there in the first inning, and the Brewers never let up. Wade Miley was fantastic on the mound. Look through the first 5 starters. They went through the rotation now with all 5 of these guys. Burns is the only one who's got the loss. And I really don't think he all pitched all that badly. I mean, he gave the 4 runs, but again, you give Burns a little offense on Thursday, and it's a different story. But so what? They lost that game, and Burns is going to have a chance to redeem himself tomorrow. And Miley was just fantastic. Got out of a couple of early jams. A couple of guys got on base in the early first few innings, and then got 2 double play balls. A pitcher's best friend. A couple of double play balls got him out of the jam. And then the Brewers hit those, when Tellez, BA, and Mitchell hit those 3 home runs. It was all she wrote for the New York Mets, who have not scored in this series. They've been outscored 19-0. The Mets look a little tired right now, and I'm not going to make an excuse for them, but they've started the season on the road. This is their second. They have not been home. So after spring training, which was in Florida for them, they went to Miami, played 4 games, opened up opening day for the Marlins down there, and then they came here after the game Sunday, opening day for the Brewers on Monday. And opening day for a visiting team is a little tedious. It is, because they got to go through all the emotions and excitement that the other team is celebrating, and the lineups, and in some cases a delay a game, but the game wasn't delayed on Monday for the Brewers. So they got to go through that, and they haven't had an off day. again, not making excuses for the Mets, but I think they look a little tired right now, and that's why I think the Brewers are going to sweep the series coming up on Wednesday. But the pitching was great. The offense, the home runs, the 5 home runs. Joey Wiemer out in right. I know the rookies are getting a lot of attention today. And Bryce Terang was on, I believe, the MLB Network today, getting a lot of national attention for his first week. And that's great. Hey, you know what? The Brewers don't get enough national attention. They don't. And they'll put the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Mets on national TV. And the only time, the Sunday night baseball telecasts, for one, how many times do you see the Brewers on Sunday night baseball? I mean, you could count on one hand and probably have a few fingers left over on the amount of times in the last 30 years the Brewers have been on Sunday night baseball. It's a joke. It's a joke that they aren't on there more. And we'll get to that somewhere down the line. And I don't know when next have they even planned Sunday. I don't even know if they're using a Sunday night game scheduled this year. But, 2018, they had that great run. Never on national TV. Never on national TV. Never on the Sunday night game, on the ESPN Sunday night game. So, all right, enough of that. I always got to win today and have a chance at sweeping the series. All right, the show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. Speaking of sports betting, FanDuel, a great sponsor of this show. I'm going to get my glasses on so I can read these a little better. FanDuel, I was telling you, my buddy, I told him, I said, do not bet against the Milwaukee Brewers tonight, and he certainly did. But you could bet on MLB. You could bet on the NBA playoffs. The NBA playoffs are almost here. It's a perfect time to download FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets to back your team if your first bet does not win. Just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Then you can bet everything from money line to 3 points drained. You name it, you could bet it on FanDuel. So, download the app. Don't miss your chance to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/LockedOn. That's FanDuel.com/LockedOn to learn more and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right. The Brewers try to go for the sweep with Corbin Burns on the hill tomorrow, but let's see who. We always like to check to see how each individual player did for the Brewers today. Let's run right down to the lineup. Christian Yelich went 2 for 5. Jesse Winker took it 0 for 3. William Thomas got some hits tonight. He went 2 for 4. Starting to get his timing at the plate a little bit. Rowdy Tellez, he's still hitting 158, but the 1 for 4 today with the home run, getting the home run on the board for his first this year. Brian Anderson went 3 for 4. The guy's hitting 533. 533 so far. Garrett Mitchell, 2 more hits. All right, 2 more hits and 2 solo home runs. Victor Caratini is batting 250, went 1 for 3. Bryce Terang, quiet tonight, but he's been so great. Bryce Terang, quiet tonight. He went 0 for 4. And Joey Wiemer went 2 for 3. Wade Miley on the hill today, went 5 innings, 6 hits. Only struck out 3 on a 79 pitch count, 79 pitches on the pitch count. But Wade Miley, you'll take 6 innings and 5 hits out of him. He gets the win. Strzelecki came in, gave a base hit, got out of it, and went 1 inning. Hobie Miller pitched an inning, gave a hit. And Guerra came in the 9th inning, and he gave up 1 hit. And so the starter goes 6. Strzelecki, Milner, and Guerra finish it up at a 9-0 win for your Milwaukee Brewers. And they tomorrow will go up against a left-hander for the Mets, David Peterson, former first-round pick of the Mets. Left-hander, went 5 innings in his first start last week against Miami, struck out 5, got the win. But a big kid, 6'6", 240. And a guy who's didn't know if he was going to make the starting rotation or not, but he did make the rotation, and he was very happy about it, making the rotation, and he pitched very well in his first outing. So that's the way they stack up for tomorrow as the Brewers try to get the sweep of the New York Mets. And I said, hey, whatever you do not bet against this Brewers team. But I just couldn't believe they took down Scherzer today. And Scherzer looked like he was hitting some of his spots. Did not see his comments after the game, but I mean, anytime you can go out there and scratch out a win, not even scratch it out, but pound a guy like Scherzer. I mean, that says a lot. So I asked you guys on Twitter, what do you think so far? 4-1, team off to a 4-1 start, and we're feeling really good about this team so far. So let's read some of the comments you guys had tonight. Colts Couch Crew says, excellent first trip through the rotation. These starters will hopefully prevent any extended slides or dips, even if the offense slows down a bit. The offense is going to slow down. They're not going to be hitting 3-4 home runs, 5 home runs a game. There's going to be times in baseball where I'm not expecting this. 8-9 runs a game and the total to fly over. No, they're gonna go through their ruts, but they're on an upswing. They're on a high right now. Nick says, I don't think so. I said, is this another fast? Oh, I said, is this just another fast start for the team? Nick says, I don't think so. Young, highly ranked prospects that are delivering can jumpstart a team into performing well. And I think that's what's happening here. Everything is clicking right now. You're right. Yeah. And pitchers, though, and these managers and this coaching staffs, the opposing teams are going to learn these Brewer rookie hitters. They're studying film. They're watching on their iPads, and they're going to figure out how to pitch Terang. And, they're going to get back to, Anderson and see what his weak spots are. And who had 2 hits. There's going to be some adjustments on the pitching staffs that face the Milwaukee Brewers. So, but you're right, Nick. A young team like this, with the speed that they have, but these young guys are kind of jump starting and adding some life into the organization a little bit after just a dead part of September last year. Daniel writes, the approach they have at the plate looks better. They're relaxed, they swing at strikes, and they put the ball in play. The young guys just bring in the energy, and they are fun to watch. Brad says, not sure if it's the pitch clock benefit or a benefit that the young guys don't have data yet for pitchers to adjust. That's exactly what I was saying, Brad. Yeah, I just think some of it's got to do with these pitchers, these opposing pitchers. They're going to adjust. These managers, these coaches, they go back to the hotel, might have a couple, but they're going to watch them videotape, and that's their job. They get to the ballpark earlier, and they're in the clubhouse, and they're watching videotape, and they're going over meetings with these pitchers and catchers, and they're trying to find out how to pitch these guys. This stuff wasn't available in the 70s and 80s to watch on a daily basis, but with iPads and all that, these guys take home, and these pitchers, they are going to study the weaknesses of these guys, and eventually it's going to be picked up and it's going to even up. But so far so good. Dr. Isak says, too early to tell. We'll know more about when pitchers see some of the new guys more than once. Let's see. Come Sail Away says, dude, it's the young bats, and they're exceptional feel as well. It's a lot different look, and it's exciting. Reminds me a bit of the Prince Weeks Hardy Hart arrival. Yeah, that's what I was saying yesterday on the podcast. Kind of reminds me of 2005 when these guys got called up. But those guys were more heralded than the guys we have right now, because these guys kind of just snuck up on us. We knew about Prince and Weeks and Hart. I mean, those 3 guys in particular, especially Prince and Weeks, those 2 were very high draft picks, and they were very highly touted, and they were ranked really, really high among the minor leagues and the draft prospects and all that. So Prince and Weeks, but these guys, they had their rankings too. But I think Prince and Weeks, they had a lot of publicity, especially for Prince being the son of a major league ball player. But I see similarities as both are. And when those guys came up in 2005, they did inject some energy on that 2005 team. And just like these guys are doing to this 2023 team. Bill writes, I love Northwoods League baseball, but tonight is an exception where I'm okay with former lacrosse logger Max Scherzer getting taken deep back to back to back. Northwoods League baseball. I love it too. I mean, it's good stuff. It is. We got that is great for the state of Wisconsin. Yes, without question, the Northwoods League baseball, which will be starting up next month. Jesse writes, showing we can win when we don't hit dingers when we do. Spencer says, I think this team is just good. You got it, player. This team is just good. And they're winning games, and hopefully they can keep the ball rolling coming up on Wednesday as they try to go for the sweep. And then they have the day off on Thursday, and St. Louis is coming to town. This show is also brought to you in part by Let me scroll down here. Pro Baseball GM, the coolest game I've played in a long game. I downloaded this game, and it's really cool. If you ever thought you wanted to be a baseball GM, download this app. If you ever fantasized about managing your own franchise, go ahead, download the app, Pro Baseball GM, immediately. The game allows you to manage every strategic aspect of a franchise, playing through seasons and leading your franchise and fans to glory and building a historic dynasty. Simulation that you're responsible for. You're going to hire the coaches, the staff. You're going to manage finances. You're going to scout. You're going to draft. You're going to manage through difficult personalities. You're going to manage through injuries, navigating your franchise through free agency and the ups and downs of a season. All the challenging and realistic game world, Ultimate Baseball GM, completely free and playable offline as well. Play on the go. And it's, it's realistic. It's something really cool. So go. Pro Baseball GM, the coolest game I've played since Stratomatic Baseball. You all remember, no, so maybe some of you don't remember Stratomatic Baseball, but that was my game growing up. And there was one kid in my neighborhood who was just fantastic at it. His name was Mark Simons. He could take your team and beat his team or whatever. He was just fantastic. So I bet you would dominate in a game like this too. So Locked On listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when using the promo code Locked On. That's Locked On, capital letters, LOCKEDON in the game store. So make sure you check it out. Download the game, visit probaseballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up in the app stores. That's probaseballgm.com. Ultimate Baseball GM. Start your fantasy, start your dynasty today. All right. Let's see what the Brewers got going. Well, with the left-hander on the mound for the Mets, I would think that we'll see a completely right-handed lineup. I'm sure that's the way counsel and a lot of managers like to do it. Like to play the percentages with these guys, and I'm sure we'll see a mostly right-handed lineup out there tomorrow, and trying to get the job done. Yeah, St. Louis Cardinals coming in the weekend. Cardinals got beat by Atlanta again, so the Brewers are in first place. Let me just double check that they're in first place because like I said, I only pay attention to the Brewers and Cardinals today. Those other teams in this division just completely suck. The Cincinnati Reds are off to a 3-2 start, and the Pittsburgh Pirates, two teams I don't pay attention to, off to 3-2 starts. But the Brewers 4-1 and a 1-game lead. Yeah, I am a standings watcher from the very beginning. I love watching the standings and going to the standings. As a kid, going up and grabbing the newspaper, the Milwaukee Sentinel, or the Racine Journal-Times, and grab the paper and looking at the standings the next morning. And you'd always get disappointed when you looked and you saw next to the score of a West Coast game, it would say late. That means the box score would not be updated and the standings would not be updated. So, but in today's world, we don't have any of that. All right. Afternoon game for the Brewers. Midweek game, which are always fun to go to. Those, to me, there's two times to go to a baseball game that stand out to me are Sunday afternoon games and these Wednesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon games. Those are the absolute best. When everybody else is working, getting off of work, going out, maybe taking a bus over to the stadium and, maybe having a beer or two before the game or something to eat after the game. But yeah, these midweek afternoon games are secondary to the Sunday afternoon games, which I think is what baseball is all about. Thanks for making Locked On Brewers your first listen every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We're free and available on all platforms. Again, I gave you those list of places. Follow us on YouTube. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell there because that'll alert you when our content will drop. And when that content drops, that means you'll be the first to know. And same with your podcast provider. You can find us there as well. If you want to know more about fantasy baseball, I'm not your guy, but two guys that are Matt and Dom. Every day they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. How about it, guys? Off to a 4-1 start. And if you plan on betting tomorrow, do not bet against the Milwaukee Brewers like my idiot friend who lost his rear end betting on Scherzer tonight. Do not do that. I may be here. I will talk you out of those bad bets on Twitter if you want, but you don't bet against a Brewer team when it's on a roll like it is now. Let's get another win tomorrow. I'm going to make it 5 in a row. We'll talk to you tomorrow, everybody. Have yourself a great day.